Welcome to my series of short videos on breathwork practice. So if you're someone who's interested in breathwork practice, the next half a dozen videos or so are going to support you with that practice. So you might want to use one of these practices in the moment. So perhaps if you've had a long stressful day, so breathwork practice at the end of the day, or perhaps if you're feeling particularly anxious about something, anxious and worried, you could use it as a grounding tool. So relaxation for stress at the end of the day, grounding tool for anxiety and worry. Or if you're someone who suffers from panic attacks, so when you can feel a panic attack going on, you're feeling really activated, you can use one of these practices to again ground and calm the nervous system. But if you're perhaps more serious about breathwork practice, because that's all very helpful and it's a tool to have in your toolbox, but if you want to, I suppose, reap the rewards of the accumulative benefits of breathwork practice, I would recommend practicing every day where possible. Perhaps keep a log, a journal of your breathwork practice and your experience with that practice. I started one a couple of weeks ago and it's been really interesting. There's been a lot of awareness and insight that's come from my breathwork practice, and now I'm quite addicted to it. So it's how I like to start my day, quite often in the garden, just 10 minutes out there, feeling the breeze on my skin, noticing the different temperatures every day, feeling the sun when that's out, maybe a little spot of rain as there has been lately, listening to the birds. So just being out in nature and experiencing 10 minutes breathwork practice. So I would start for the first week or two with 10 minutes, perhaps in the morning or last thing in the evening before bedtime, and then build that up to twice a day. So practice for 10 minutes morning and evening. And then further on down the line, I'll be recording some videos to support some longer practice, perhaps some more dynamic practice, involving some stretching and movement, breath and movement. And those practices will be more like 15-20 minutes, so you can build up to that. So why am I promoting breathwork practice? Well, let me just give you a little bit of insight into the benefits of breathwork practice, and then you can experience it for yourself with the next videos that will be following this one. So benefits of breathwork. The way we breathe is as important as the food we eat and the exercise we take. Think of it as a preventative medicine. The benefits are accumulative, so the more you practice, the more benefits you will receive. Over time, it can rewire the neurobiology of the brain and can energise a depressed state or calm and soothe an anxious state. It stimulates the vagus nerve, which is our parasympathetic nervous system, allowing us to return to our rest and digest mode, or what we call our window of tolerance, meaning we have increased positive energy, positive relationships, improved digestion and sleep. Our heart rate and blood pressure decreases. It can boost immunity, increase levels of endorphins to help manage chronic pain, and to help us to tolerate difficult feelings. Some of us who suffer chronic stress or anxiety can get stuck in that fight or flight mode. Our sympathetic nervous system becomes sort of permanently switched on, and it can become chronic. So regular breathwork practice can help us to move more freely between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Over time, reducing stress, anxiety, reducing levels of cortisol and adrenaline in the body. Regular practice will increase lung capacity and strengthen the lungs. And when was there a more important time to think about our lung health and the air we breathe? And lastly, yeah, when we breathe slowly, deeply, this will synchronize our heart rate with our breathing pattern. So once heart rate and breathing are synchronized, that's what we call heart rate variability. We become much calmer. We come back into our window of tolerance. This is called heart rate variability. Have a look into that. Heart rate variability. So what we're looking for is ideally 4 to 8 breaths per minute during our breathwork practice. So 6 breaths brings us into the therapeutic zone. I'm going to be introducing the importance of nose breathing to filter the air and hydrate. So just be aware if you are a mouth breather. I'm going to come on to that in the next video, awareness. Be aware of upper chest breathing. If you're an upper chest breather, perhaps fairly rapid, shallow breathing, that can be related to anxiety, stress, fear, trauma. We call it thoracic breathing. So what I'll be encouraging is breath much further down in the diaphragm, belly breathing. We call that diaphragmatic breathing. And this can also alleviate a lot of neck and back pain. So if you're somebody who suffers from a lot of headaches or back pain, some of these breathwork practices will really help. Will help to relieve the tension, the stress that you're putting on certain muscles in the upper body. So yeah, I think what I'll go on to now is sharing practices with you. I'm going to start with some grounding practices. So not necessarily breathing per se, although one of them we will be focusing on awareness of breath, but just some preparation work for breath work. So the next couple of videos will be around grounding and calming the nervous system, coming into the present moment, so quite mindful practices. And the last video that I'll be sending out in this series will be breath awareness. So again, it's very mindfulness of breath, just sitting with the breath. So these next couple of practices, the next couple of videos you'll see are suitable for anyone, for everyone, no matter what your condition. They will only seek to calm and soothe the nervous system. But there will be practices further on which will be slightly more dynamic, coherent breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, and there might be some warnings at the start of those videos, something you might need to build up to, and some breath and movement. Breath and movement is really important for those of you who might be quite depressed, have quite a low arousal zone. So if you're somebody who dissociates, is quite spacey, daydreams, loses track of time, someone who doesn't have a lot of energy or motivation, is in quite a depressed or shut down or dissociative state, then breath and movement is really positive for these conditions, because it brings the energy up. So many of these practices will be bringing the energy down for anxiety and stress, but other practices will be bringing the energy up if we need to concentrate, motivate, raise our energy levels, bring those up. So I hope you enjoy. One more thing before I go, the book I recommend that I've just finished reading and listening to on Audible, this, Breath by James Nestor. It's absolutely fascinating. It's pretty extreme. You might think, oh, a book about breath, that sounds quite light. It's not going to have a lot of content. Actually, there's a lot of scientific research in this book. There's a lot of extreme breathing practices. It's so informative, giving you all the information about why it's so important to breathe through the nose as opposed to the mouth, why it's so important for us to chew, why certain breath practices are important to us. And what's nice at the back of this book, are then many guided practices for you. And if you get this book on Audible, you will be guided through the practices. So that's an added bonus. I can highly recommend this. See you in the next video.